And welcome back, everybody. It is time to take a look at Group H: Cabo Verde, Saudi Arabia, Spain, Uruguay. This is one of the rare groups where it's pretty clear. You have one of the favorites, you have another very, very good team that should absolutely get to the knockout stage, you have a clear number three, and you have a clear underdog. There isn't a lot of discussion or questions about what this should look like. We're just going to have to see if things play out the way that they are expected to, or if somebody surprises in either a good way or a bad way. If there's going to be a pleasant surprise, Cabo Verde is going to be the team that's going to have to overachieve and pull off something magical. There just isn't the same kind of talent here. It's a really cool story. These are the kind of teams that now you get in a 48 team World Cup. So we're going to see what they're able to do. And it's just an awesome thing to have different countries, different players that you're going to get to learn about. Dylan Livramento, one of those guys. I mentioned this with another country too, but they did have a balanced attack in terms of who was getting the goals during qualifying. That is something positive, that they're not reliant on one player, but Dylan Livramento was certainly the guy who was leading the way and was at the top of the goal scoring list for this team. The name I want to throw out there to get yourself kind of familiar with, or refamiliarize yourself with if you're an MLS fan, is Jamiro Monteiro. Jamiro Monteiro played for Philadelphia Union, San Jose Earthquakes, was a very good MLS player for a while, and it's back in the Netherlands. One of the difficult things in terms of Monteiro kind of being the guy in the face of the team is he's a Swiss Army knife who does a lot of things well, but he's not a goal scorer. He's not really a creator. He's just kind of he's not necessarily a distributor either. He's just very good at advancing the ball up the field. He helps connect. That's really the best way to describe him, is he's a connector. And so that connection only goes so far if you don't have players who can get him the ball and players he can get the ball to then create those goal scoring opportunities and to capitalize on those goal scoring opportunities. So lots of work to do for Cabo Verde. We're going to see how this goes and see if they can ultimately surprise some people and give themselves an opportunity to keep playing in the knockout stage. Next, we have Saudi Arabia. Definitely the third team in this group. Friendly reminder, Saudi Arabia did beat Argentina at the last World Cup, that Argentina team that went on to win the entire tournament. Remember when Saudi Arabia beat them and everybody thought that the sky was falling for Argentina? That was a thing that happened. So certainly do not underestimate this team. They're another one of these teams that's difficult to play against, and they can score some goals. The couple things I want to point out here and discuss quickly. Salem Al-Dosari been probably the best player on this team, had an excellent World Cup in 2022. He's now 34. Does he have one more magical summer left in him? Can he replicate what he did in 2022? Because all of a sudden, Saudi Arabia can go beat one of these other two teams that I'm going to talk about in this group if he's playing really well and is in good form. And then you also have Saud Abdulhamid, who played every minute in the 2022 World Cup and logged over 1,300 minutes for Lens in Ligue 1 this season. That Lens teams that pushed PSG most of the season and finished second. A very, very good team. Saud Abdulhamid was part of that, played an important role. So you do have some talent here. You've got some guys who can make some things happen. They've just got to find ways to score goals again, because that was a lot of what they were able to do in 2022. They got a couple goals. All of a sudden, they beat Argentina. They give themselves an opportunity. Didn't exactly last the way that they would have hoped, but this is a team that is dangerous. Need to be paying attention to Saudi Arabia. Then we've got Spain. I have them number 2. There will be a lot of people who tell you they're the favorites to win this tournament. I have a specific reason that I will discuss in the next group why I do not have them at number 1. But this is a very, very good team, defending European champions. Clearly one of the picks, the team that's expected to be there at the very end, competing for this trophy. The story with this team is that there are 0 Real Madrid players on it. Part of this is a reflection of Real Madrid's season. Part of this is a reflection that, and I even was just kind of going back to look today in terms of the minutes distribution in La Liga for Real Madrid this season. Dean Howson is probably your top option in terms of Real Madrid players, or the guy that was most surprised to be left off this roster. But the guys you're looking at are 20, 21, 22 years old. They are very young players. And so if you don't necessarily want to bring somebody who hasn't got all this experience at the highest level and you want to go with more of the veterans or guys who have been in La Liga for 5, 6, 7 years playing key roles, Real Madrid just don't have those guys right now. So we're going to see how this goes, and we're going to see whether this ultimately ends up being a good decision or not, whether it's a talking point as the tournament actually gets going here. But that is the first thing to know about this Spanish team, is that you don't see Spain teams without Real Madrid players, and we've got one. You also have a couple injury questions, of course, headlined by Lamine Yamal. With the issues he's got right now, what percentage is he at when the tournament starts? Is he missing a game or two? Is he coming off the bench? Is he limited? Does he look like the brilliant Lamine Yamal that we've come to expect? All of those things. Mikel Merino also working his way back from injury. So there are some pieces that you're not exactly sure. Guys who are important or have been important for this team. Obviously, Yamal is the centerpiece of everything and the best player on this team. So going to have to see how this goes, exactly how healthy he is. But that's the other big storyline, is can they get their best players on the field and have everybody available at least when it matters? The third thing, this is there are 3 truly fascinating storylines to me about this team. They might be the most interesting team in the whole tournament because of these things. The third one is that Spain might have the best goalkeeper in the world. He was the best goalkeeper in the Premier League this season. He just started in the Champions League final. David Raya has 11 caps. And if I was reading correctly, and I think I was, did not appear in qualifying. He is not the starting goalkeeper for this team. Kind of similar to the US. Is that just all of a sudden going to change because, well, David Raya is in terrific form and probably the best goalkeeper in the world? It's kind of hard to just say we don't want him in net when he's been so good for Arsenal, who are one of the 3 best teams in the world. But he's not Spain's starting goalkeeper, at least heading into this tournament. So I'm just really interested to see how this plays out. Does he end up getting an opportunity? Does something happen with Unai Simon where the pressure of knowing that Raya is there, the first thing that if he makes a mistake, is that it? Is Unai Simon the guy no matter what? It's just a fascinating subplot for this team. Again, you don't talk about many teams that have goalkeeper questions here. Pretty much everybody knows who the goalkeeper is. I would argue Spain fall into that category, except David Raya is there and always an option. So it's just, like I said, it's hard to leave him on the bench because he is generally considered to be the best goalkeeper in the world. So we'll see how that plays out as well. Next, we have Uruguay to round out this group. Good defense, always strong center backs, lots of options in midfield. The headliner here, of course, is Fede Valverde, Real Madrid star, can play pretty much any position, one of the most underrated players in the world. Like I was kind of mentioning with Jamiro Montero earlier, part of what makes it hard to appreciate Fede Valverde is that he does a little bit of everything. He scores goals, but he's not really a goal scorer. He can play as a deep midfielder, but he's not necessarily a distributor. He can play as a right back. He does all of the dirty work. He's a brilliant, brilliant player who just doesn't necessarily have the one thing that he's great at. that you know him for. He's just the Swiss Army knife, kind of the X factor that makes Real Madrid go. And I say that sort of jokingly, as that's all he is. Obviously, he's a huge part of that team and delivered in some moments this season when things weren't going well. And then, obviously, other things happened off the field and in training as well that, again, not getting into here, don't pertain to Uruguay specifically. But that's your big name and your star for this team. The X Factor, the definition of wild card X Factor, whatever phrase you want to use, is Darwin Nunez. If Darwin Nunez shows up and has himself a tournament, this is probably closer to Team 10, maybe even Team 8, than Team 13. If Darwin Nunez is wasteful and inconsistent and frustrating, as Darwin Nunez often is, this team is somewhere between 13 and 15. Maybe it doesn't prohibit them from getting out of this group. It shouldn't. But it could make all the difference in a round of 32, a round of 16. They're in determining their ceiling and how far they can go and whether they can reach the quarterfinals to semifinals. At some point, he is going to have to step up and have himself a big moment, a big game, score some goals. Because the striker position is where this team lacks relative to everything else. And you know what Darwin Nunez is capable of, and that is good and bad at the same time, and you know you're going to get chaos. Speaking of chaos, that's the final thing I'll say about this team. The other thing I'm curious about is, where is this team at mentally? And are they ready to go? They've been through some stuff. Whether that's what happened with Fede Valverde and Real Madrid this season, that's everything that happened with this team after the smackdown at the hands of the United States, and the questions to Marcelo Bielsa, and is he just going to resign, and all. And it's just a lot generally with Marcelo Bielsa. He wants the tension and the chaos and those kind of things. He's got some Jose Mourinho in him that way. That's a lot to try and navigate and just keep your focus on the games, the preparation, the things that you should be focused on when there's so much happening outside. So I'm very curious to see kind of how this team responds to that and what their level of focus and attention to detail and readiness to go is as we get started with this tournament.